You know, life has a funny way of giving us what we need, but not necessarily what we desire. So when life does that, we have to look at what's coming up and ask ourselves, why am I repeating? You know, we have to question our reality. The truth is, guys, we have to question our reality, because a lot of the times we in the spiritual community say that we're healed, or we've moved through all these things already, and that um, we feel like we move through certain layers of healing. But life has a funny way of testing those theories for you. And recently, life has done just that for me, and really tested me as to how far my limits and boundaries go. And the truth is, and it's what I always say, that our deepest knowing is always the thing to trust. Our intuition, that gut instinct, even when we're afraid to do it, it's what we have to do. Because a lot of the times in the past, I would stay in relationships, jobs, and places that had been expired way past the deadline, just for the sake of seeing it through, or pushing against something, thinking that I could do this. My ego is guiding me, and I have to push through it. But the older I get, the more I realize that that's not necessary. That what drives the ship now in my life is my intuition, and that goes up beyond any other thing, beyond the reasoning, beyond the logic, is that intuition, my intuition. And I'm so happy that I stay connected to this, because even in situations that I don't want to, but my intuition is telling me that you have to, this is where the practice comes in. This is where life tests you. Because I could preach all day long about intuition as if it was some magical, fairy, easy thing. But the truth, guys, it's actually a very difficult thing. Because sometimes our intuition tells us to do things that we don't want to do. And we know we should. And our guidance system is telling us to do it. Yet, because of fear, we hang on to things longer. Because we don't trust that the unfolding will be ultimately good. And that's why we stay in places, situations that have been expired, that are been expired. Because we live in fear, and we don't live in trusting, we don't live in knowing. So this message is to remind myself and to remind you that it's not always going to be easy. In fact, it's actually one of the most challenging things, is to live in this way. It's actually a very difficult path, because it challenges you. It tells you to let go of something that you want to hold on to. With manifestation, and when manifesting, knowing when to let go of certain manifestations, you know? Because sometimes our ego wants something, but our intuition is guiding us somewhere else. So it's good to have a list of what you desire, and remember that list. But most importantly, to stay connected to your inner guidance when it speaks to you. when this certain scenario that presented itself for me showed up, and I realized it a bit later than I wanted it to. I was like, dang, I should have caught it earlier. But you know what? If it was me a few years ago, I would have hung out, like, I would have not even been aware to it. I wouldn't even been aware that my intuition was sitting there yelling at me. I would have just ignore. And now I kept hearing the messages. I kept hearing it. And I kept pushing it to the side. Until I realized that I was doing that. And sometimes we're guided to make certain decisions just to see, and we don't know why we make certain decisions, right? Sometimes we just we listen to the hunch and we do it. And from that hunch, I had a hunch to do something. And from that hunch, I then got clarity of what my next step was. You know, it's very subtle. It's very subtle how it shows up. But it's very important that we stay attuned to it, because it can easily slip us past us, you know? It's almost like we live in a sort of trance that we're just going by and not staying tuned to our guidance system, or we play small sometimes. You know, it all depends on our belief systems. But it's funny because I watch videos on here on YouTube I watch a lot of Abraham Hicks. Some of you may know her. And Bashar. Bashar is also a channeler. They're both channelers. Abraham Hicks talks a lot about staying connected to your inner being. And Bashar talks about following your highest excitement with no insistence on what the outcome should be. And like that being the blueprint of your life. And I love that concept because that's how I lead my life. I stay on the train I prefer to be on because it takes me where I need to be. And then some people are like, well, you just jump ship really fast. No, I don't. I don't jump ship really fast. I look at my life experience. I process the experience. But it's through life experience that I know what I want and what I desire. And to some people, it may seem a bit wishy-washy. It's like you never know what you want. You're going back and forth, and it's like, well, that's how I get clarity. It's through life experience that I get clear on what it is that I actually desire. So some people are more stern on how they view things, and they're just set on one way of thinking. And I think like you have to have a level of adaptability to be in this path of spirituality. And we can't be stuck on a certain way because it doesn't allow for room for growth. But that's just me. This is just me. There's certain areas in my life that I do apply that more towards, right? And it's like, for example, exercising. You know, I do have to be a certain level of stern with that because otherwise I'm never going to make it to the gym, right? So when it comes to certain areas, I do apply that. But when it comes to like relationships, I am more of a person that learns through life experience, and I don't have that rigidness about me. I am more of a go with the flow and we'll see what happens type of thing. And I hate when people try to insist on a way of being towards another, because then it just kind of means that you don't appreciate the person as they are. And I think there's so many different ways that we can live our lives, and it's just like religion, right? Like everyone has a point of view, but like you don't need to shove your view on another, because your view is not more correct than the other's view. Christian is not better than Buddhism, and vice versa. So to me, living an intuitive life is the best way to live. And with living an intuitive life comes a lot of back and forth, a lot of yes and no's, a lot of we'll see what happens. And having that fluidity in life is what I feel is makes life worth living, because we're ever changing and we're ever evolving as humans. And I need to have a space where I can grow. Let's say, for example, in a relationship, I need to have a space where I could feel safe enough to grow and not feel like I am in a box of any sort. If any of you are into astrology, I'm a Pisces, and so I'm super like go with the flow, and that's just my nature. And 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 we literally live our lives in like a spiritual manner, in a spiritual way. That's how I am. And my way is not better than anyone's. It's just what works for me. And I don't expect people to adapt to this, but I do believe that this is the way to live, because I believe that just like nature, there are the animals and how they flow and they constantly move, right? They're never stuck in one place. Animals are always moving about and going from here to one place to another, getting their food. They're always moving and evolving. In my perspective, that's what they're doing. They're never stuck. They're always just naturally going with the flow, just like the birds naturally migrate from one place to another. They don't have to think about it. It's their instinct, it's their intuition telling them, I have to go south, right? They don't know why they're doing it. They just know, but it literally saves their lives. I believe that we have this adaptability. I believe that us humans have this also. And it's a built-in program that once you tap into it is a blueprint for living a better life, for living a more fulfilling life. And it's not necessarily that it's easier. That's not what I mean at all. It's not that life is easier, because it's still difficult. But what it is, okay, where did I end up here? Oh, okay. But what it is it's not that it's more easy, but it's more flowing. I think the best way I can put it is it's more like going with the flow, right? So like the river, right? Like it goes with the current. You go with the current because it's the natural way. It's the natural way of living. It's a natural way to move about. In ancient times, this literally saved our lives. Our instinct, being able to act quick in the moment, right? But we've become so disconnected from this, and being indoors and like just not being in our natural habitat as we used to, that we forget that the wisdom that lies in this way of living. I think that's my rant for today, guys. I'm gonna continue to hike here. It's a beautiful trail here, and I'm just gonna enjoy it. It's about 90 degrees, but thankfully there's plenty of shade, and the vibes are really good. I haven't hiked in a while, so I'm really happy to get back to the things I love. And you know, traveling really took a toll on me this last time I went to Seattle. It's taken me a little while to get back on my feet, and but I'm back. I recovered after many ginger shots and Theraflu. I am back. So thankfully, you know, I think maybe something is also going around. So just a reminder to stay hydrated, to take care of your bodies, and to continue to do the things that you know are good for you, to live from a place of being true to yourself, because that's the thing that will keep you the most healthy, happy, and ultimately connected to yourself. Blessings, guys. I will see you all on the next video.